The Pelicans just fired Willie Green after a brutal 2-10 start. James Borrego is stepping in as the interim head coach, and the Mavericks are reportedly seriously consider blowing up their roster, and that includes Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. We'll talk about all that, plus the trade interest in Domantas Sabonis and more, right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And the New Orleans Pelicans this morning fired Willie Green as their head coach. They made the move as the Pelicans sit at 2-10 on the season, including 4 back-to-back losses when it came down to it. It was reported that that Pelicans governor Gail Benson had given the decision on Willie Green up to Joe Dumars and gave him full control over what this meant for the future of the Pelicans. And reportedly, Benson had told Dumars that Green was to stay as head coach when Dumars replaced David Griffin immediately when he first came in to replace him in the front office. So now when you look at it, Willie Green, who went 150 and 190 in 4+ seasons as the head coach of the Pelicans, you know, he did lead the team to 2 playoff appearances in 2022 and 2024. But with that, it seems like, you know, the Pelicans, who blocked James Borrego from taking on other assistant coaching jobs around the NBA, seems like this was more a move to keep James Borrego in the building, who does now take over as the interim head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. And this is a guy that does have previous head coaching experience. He was the head coach of the Orlando Magic and Charlotte Hornets before as well. Borrego was the Magic interim head coach for 30 games in 2015 as well, when he was the head coach of the Hornets in 2018 to 2022. So with this now, it clearly puts the Pelicans on a path where change is definitely something that they are not afraid to do. And the question that many people are asking, especially with, listen, as much as you can say about the Pelicans and even, you know, that must-align trade to give up an unprotected first-round pick to draft Derek Queen, I mean, it's looking like it's going to be a steal as things stand right now. Derek Queen, if you're looking for any type of bright spot with that Pelicans team, Derek Queen has to be that. This guy has had amazing games. Now, you know, last night against the Lakers, he only had 9 points in 29 minutes. It is what it is there. But this is a guy that stepped up defensively. He stepped up rebounding-wise, and he does look like a bright spot. Now, the question still becomes about, is it going to be worth it? Because Derek Queen could turn out to be a good player, but if, you know, the Pelicans end up gifting the Atlanta Hawks a top 4 or 5 pick and they end up getting a generational talent with that, it's always going to be a lopsided pick no matter how good Derek Queen is. But the Pelicans Joe Dumars was aggressive. But going out there and getting the player, and just in the vacuum of, is Derek Queen good or not, it looks like the answer to that question is going to be yes, that Derek Queen is good, but you still can get a good player and give up a little bit too much for it, right? But this is now another big decision that Joe Dumars has made for the direction of this Pelicans team, as he's now trying to craft this team into the identity that he wants them to have. The question that a lot of people are going to ask in all of this is, what does this mean for Zion Williamson? Is James Borrego the type of coach that can come in and revive Zion a little bit, that can get this team to winning and righting the ship with your 2-10 on the season? You know, all that remains to be seen, and that's going to be told over the season and how things goes. But as things stand right now, this Pelicans team is still a team that doesn't really have a great direction. You know, they have some really good pieces. Trey Murphy III, good piece. Jeremiah Fears, I think is going to be really good for them, already averaging 14 points per game. Derek Queen, we just talked about, looks like he's going to be a good piece and player for them as well. That's added to Herb Jones and other players that they have there. But the Zion Williamson part of this is always going to be, until they have an answer on that, it's always going to put a little bit of cloud on doubt on what this Pelicans team could be. Because as long as you have Zion, you're going to build in some way around Zion. But, you know, reportedly the Pelicans have already been willing to move off of building around him necessarily and just having him a part of the team. But still, I mean, it's just, I get it. They have it out of that contract. He has one of the crazy, most team-friendly structures of a contract in the NBA. But I think when you look at this team, like, Trey Murphy's leading them in points other than Zion. Zion's technically averaging 22.8, but, you know, Trey Murphy played all 12 games. He's a 20-point per game scorer. He's leading them in rebounds, leading them in assists. Like, Trey Murphy III looks like a player that if you're going to try to pivot and build a younger core, having Trey, having Jeremiah Fears, having now Derek Queen, having Herb Jones there, you could have a nice young core that you can build a future around and try to supplement. You already gave up your first-round pick in 2026 draft, but you will see what happens when it comes down to that. Jordan Poole, still an interesting piece. They're averaging 17 points, only playing 7 games so far. But the contracts and money that they have tied in between, Zion Williamson and Jordan Poole, for that matter, as well, are pretty big damn contracts to have locked into your team, a team that has 2 wins on the season. So it's up to Joe Dumars to kind of find that path and figure out what this team is going to look like going forward. You have $70 million locked up between Zion and Jordan Poole. And that's a huge question. And if you want to throw that in, you got $100 million between Zion, Jordan Poole, and DeJounte Murray. $100 million in 3 players that you just aren't getting a lot out of as far as being on the basketball court a lot. And that's what the Pelicans are going to really have to try to figure out in this and what that means for them going forward. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Willie Green, the Pelicans were right to fire Willie Green? Is he made to be the scapegoat of what's going on here? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Another topic that is on a lot of basketball pundits' minds is what's going to happen with the Dallas Mavericks. Now that they have moved on from Nico Harrison, reportedly they are weighing their options on, blowing up that roster completely. And as it seems right now, reportedly, and I'm going to say this again, reportedly, is that right now internally, trading Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving is seen as the optimal strategy for the Dallas Mavericks now that they've moved on from Nico Harrison. Now, that's going to be interesting, right? Reportedly is that sources believe that moving Davis and or Irving is optimal strategy for Dallas. Trading Davis or Irving would allow the Mavericks to bottom out this season, which would increase the chances of landing a high pick in the 2026 draft, which, keep in mind, this is the last year that they have full control over their pick until 2031, which is a deep draft class, right? And then when you look at being able to pair Cooper Flagg with a member from this deep draft class, that's seen as maybe the best version of what this Mavericks team can do in a rebuild, right? I think it also it allows them to recoup some of the draft capital that they gave up to build the team, the championship team around Luka. That then they ended up trading Luka Doncic, in the middle of having that. So that's kind of how things are seen right now for this Mavericks team. And when you look at it, having all your picks either locked in with pick swaps or whatever, like 2027, if it's not in the top 2, it's going to Charlotte, right? In 2028, it's a pick swap with the OKC Thunder. They're probably going to be a worse team than the Thunder. The Thunder are probably going to take that pick, which leaves you without a good of a pick in that, right? So it's just those type of things that the Mavericks did, that Nico Harrison did. They didn't trade Luka Doncic. That's part of the reason why he's no longer in power there anymore in Dallas. So looking at that part of it, and if the Mavericks truly do see this as being what the best option is to recoup assets as well as bottom out to maximize their chance to get a really good talent in the 2026 draft, I think that it makes some sense there, right? But it's not going to be easy. When you look at injury history and age for Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, that's the thing that it could hurt this, especially Anthony Davis, a guy that averages playing less than 60 games a season for the last 5 seasons, getting paid almost $60 million on average by that contract. Then you got Kyrie Irving, who's getting paid $36 million this year, $49 million next year, and then a $42 million player option for the year after that. It's just not going to be necessarily easy to move those and really get good draft capital back. Now, if a team, I think any team that could be interested in trading for AD or Kyrie are probably teams that have some expiring contracts, or a team that already has a big bloated contract and maybe can give up some picks that then feel like they can weather having Anthony Davis, whether he's injured or not, or Kyrie. And that's fine, but it's not like you're going to be getting lottery picks back more than likely for that, right? So we'll see what happens. I mean, Kyrie's coming back reportedly in December. By the end of December, I think is when he's targeted to be back. And could a team then use that next month and a half before the trade deadline to see what he's going to be able to bring and then make a trade for him? Anthony Davis kind of is who he is, right? Yes, he's extension eligible next season, and he could be looking for that extension, and that could be the last big deal of his NBA career. But there's some pretty big hurdles that the Mavs would have to clear here, even if they do see moving these guys as the optimal option. But I want to hear from you guys on this one. Do you think that the Mavs are going to be able to move Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, or they're going to have to settle for something else? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Lastly, last topic before we get up out of here, another player that could be on the trade block, I should say, and that's Domantas Sabonis. According to Sam Amick of The Athletic, that the Sacramento Kings and Domantas Sabonis said that rival teams right now are having a lot of interest in monitoring if Sabonis asks for a trade or the Kings do make him available, saying this: as it relates to Sabonis, my understanding is there are at least a few teams that have raised their hand to say, hey, he's somebody we want to talk about. And we'll see. He is making $42 million this season. He has 2 seasons left at $94 million in total beyond this season as well. So a team that could be trading for him is going to be getting him with 3 years left on the deal if you can include this season, which isn't bad, right? Sabonis is a guy that is one of the best rebounders in the league. He can fill it up offensively. He has some defensive limitations for sure, but he can be a hub offensively for a team, and you can look at that, right? Now, Sam Amick also included this, is that the Kings did extend Keegan Murray at a number that they think could retain his trade value as well. And so like the Kings seem to be a team that's ready to make a pivot if needed. Now, I don't think that trading Keegan Murray may be the best option for them. Like Sabonis is one thing. We know that they don't have, reportedly, there's not a lot of interest in Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan on the trade market, but the Kings are cooked. I mean, let's just call a thing a thing. The Sacramento Kings right now are cooked. As a matter of fact, I did an episode a couple of weeks ago on teams that were already cooked, and that was a week into the season. And the Kings seem like one of those teams that are absolutely cooked to start off this season, man. 3-10 on the season with the roster that they have, with the players that they have there. It does not seem like they're going to be able to turn that around. But, if Sabonis does request a trade, and I think that that's what it would have to be for them to make movement on that. If he does request a trade, man, I think the Kings are going to have to try to find the option that's best suited for whatever can get them the most assets back while still taking care of Sabonis. But it's just, when you look back at this King thing, from them having the light the beam team and the excitement around that team, and a team that looked like at that point it was going to be one of those teams that were going to go on playoff runs for the next couple of years, to go from that to firing Mike Brown to then De'Aaron Fox requesting a trade, into how all this thing has gone since then, it just goes to show how when you're building a team, you have to be mindful of keeping of how many fragile and moving parts it is to keep a team together. And that came all crumbling down for the Kings team relatively quickly. And, we'll see where they land on the other side of this with assets or young players or whatever it is. But this is not where I think even 2 years ago people thought the Kings would be at this time. Even a year ago, really, at the start of last season, I don't think many people thought the Kings would be here where they are right now. And it just goes to show you you can never really be settled or sure on what a path is going to look like in the NBA, no matter how it may look like at that time. Because I tell you what, I didn't see them blowing it up. Same thing with the Utah Jazz. Never saw them trading both Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They ended up moving off both those guys. Right now, you look at the Kings. I don't know how many people would have thought that there's a possibility that Fox could have been moved. And then for Zach LaVine and a move for Zach LaVine of all that. And now we sit in a spot where Domantas Sabonis could be traded by this year's trade deadline as well. And that is a realistic future, a possibility out there. I guess we just got to see how it's going to go, man. But that's my time for today, man. The drama is just beginning, as the NBA season is still very early into that. Willie Green's out. Dallas is looking to tear it down. Sabonis might be on the move next. I want to hear from you guys, though. Drop your thoughts on everything in the comment section on what do you think could be the next shakeup move around the NBA. Don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to us as well. Hit that notification button if you want to get notified anytime that we do post and never miss an episode. You guys can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show @gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything basketball related. We keep it real, we keep it raw here, and it's all about the game. I'll catch you guys next time. Next time I feel like making a video. Maybe tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.